Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, I'm Emily. In today's video, I am going to be talking about the books that I'm going to be reading in October, and the way that I've done that this month is by letting you guys choose on my Instagram stories. I haven't done a TBR choosing video like this in a while, but I really wanted to collaborate with you guys in a way on how I was going to choose these books, so that's why I decided to do it this month. I did put up 6 different polls on my Instagram story a few days ago, and I haven't actually looked at the final results, but I'm very excited about all of the books that I've put into this because I feel like they are all books that I'm really excited about, so I don't care which way it goes either way. So it's literally up to you guys on what books you would like me to read first. September was actually the only month that I've ever finished and completed my whole entire TBR that I set myself, and I'm very, very proud of myself because I actually read them all in 1 week at the start of the month because I did end up having surgery about a month into September, so I had to get them done as soon as possible, and that video is already up. So if you'd like to see me reading my September TBR, make sure you go and watch that one. But with all that being said, let's just get straight into this one. Now, honestly, I didn't even really think about the fact that it is spooky season in October when I put these polls up on my story, so I'm definitely going to read some spookier books this month, but I don't really have many included in the polls because I don't really have many more thrillers on my physical TBR, so I might have to go out and buy some spooky books for this year. Starting off with the first poll that I put up, I put 2 romances up against each other, and these are both newer releases as well. So the first one we have is Wild Card by Elsie Silver. Now, I am actually kind of terrified for this one. So obviously this is the newest release in the Rose Hill series. I believe this is also the last book in the series because it is the 4th one. I feel like this series has come out really, really quickly as well. I remember when Wild Love came out and it did not feel like that long ago, maybe a year and a half to 2 years ago. So this series has definitely come out very quickly, but I have been enjoying it so far. Now, the reason why I'm terrified for this one is because I did see the synopsis of this months ago when they first announced it, and I was like, I do not think that's something I'm going to enjoy. I'm not going to read that. And then I had it sent to me anyway, so I am still going to give it a go because I've heard really good things, and people that say they don't like the idea of the trope either are really enjoying it. I'm saying all that without even explaining anything. The reason why I'm terrified for this one is because it's actually between a girl and her ex-boyfriend's dad, and I just think that's going to be a little disgusting. I don't really like big age gaps in books, but also the dynamic of that is really weird. It's definitely giving me Birthday Girl by Penelope Douglas vibes, which I did like when I read that 4 years ago when I got back into reading, but that is not the type of books that I enjoy now. So I'm definitely very nervous for this one, but I also do want to give it a good go. And the book that I put it up against is Ride With Me by Simone Soltani. I believe this came out a few months ago, but it is a newer release, I guess you can call it. This is the sequel to Cross the Line, which is also an F1 romance, and that was the first F1 romance that I actually read and really, really enjoyed. So I've been really excited to get into this one. I feel like I just really like Simone Soltani's writing. She just has a way of making you so invested in the story and in the characters, and I'm very excited to read more from her. I definitely would prefer this one to be chosen out of these 2, but I do definitely feel like everyone's going to choose this one because this is the newer release, and more people know about Elsie Silver and her books than this one, so I feel like more people would want me to read this. But I do definitely want to get into reading more F1 romances because I seem to really enjoy them. Looking at the poll for this one, the results for this one are absolutely insane. We have Wild Card with 81% and Ride With Me with 19%. That is a crazy difference in results. 566 people voted for me to read Wild Card. So that is the option that I'm going to have to go with for this month. Hopefully I end up enjoying this a lot more than I'm expecting to, because right now I'm this is giving 2-star vibes, but Elsie Silver has done it before where she's made me like tropes that I wouldn't usually like, so maybe she'll do it again with this one. This is the first book going on the October TBR. The next 2 books I put up against each other are both from V. Schwab because I've definitely been in my V. Schwab era at the moment. I really, really love her writing and her books. I think I've read 2 or maybe 3 at this point, and I've just really enjoyed all of them that I've read, so I did want to put 2 that are on my TBR up against each other so I can read another book from her. So the first one that I have is The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue. This is a special anniversary edition I've had on my TBR for a while. It is so gorgeous. I think I literally bought it 2 years ago and still haven't read it, but I've always had this inkling that I'm really gonna love this book. I've just had that gut feeling that it's something I'm really gonna love, but it took me a long time to actually read one of her books. The first book I read from her was Vicious, and it just made me fall in love with her writing. So I feel like it's finally time for me to actually binge the rest of her books that I have on my TBR. So this is the first option. I believe our main character, Addie LaRue, is just a character that everyone forgets about. Like every time she makes like a little relationship with someone, they end up forgetting about her. I think that's the kind of idea of it. So it definitely sounds very interesting. It sounds very emotional, and I do think that I'm really gonna love this. So this is the first option. And then the book that it is going up against is Vengeful by V.E. Schwab. Now this is a sequel to Vicious, which I read a couple of months ago and really loved. The idea of this world is kind of like superheroes. It is like when people have near-death experiences, they end up with these superhuman abilities, and that's kind of what they're investigating. And in the first book, we're following Victor and Eli, who are college roommates, and it's like a dual timeline sort of situation. So they are roommates and best friends in one timeline, and then they are enemies in the other timeline, and we're trying to figure out what happened and all about these superhuman abilities. And it's just a really cool world, and I really loved the characters in the first book, and I'm very excited to continue the series and finish it with this one. I think there's also going to be a third book in this series released in 2026, so I definitely want to read this before that one comes out. So looking at the results for this one, the results are also quite drastic for this one. We have 76% The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue and 24% for Vengeful. That is kind of how I think it was going to go. I definitely thought more people would choose The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue, but again, that is a very drastic difference. There were 507 people that voted for me to read this book, so hopefully it doesn't disappoint. Hopefully I love it as much as I'm expecting to, because I've been excited to read this for a very long time. I think I completely forgot to say as well, I did put up 6 polls. I was thinking to do 8, but I was like 6 is a lot more achievable, and honestly I didn't know what other genres and books to put against each other, so I was like, I'll just settle on 6 for this month. Anyway, on to the third poll now. I kind of chose 2 like fantasy books for this poll, just literally random ones that I've been wanting to read. So the first one I chose was Dracora by Lynette Noni. This is the third book in the Akane series, which I started a couple of months ago as well, and I've definitely been enjoying the series so far. It's very reminiscent of like Harry Potter and that magical school sort of vibe, so I've definitely been enjoying it, and I feel like the way that book 2 ended has made me really want to pick up this third book, because I feel like a lot is going to happen in this, and I'm very excited to see where it goes. And the book that I have put it up against is Apprentice to the Villain by Hannah Nicole Myra. This is a sequel to Assistant to the Villain, which I read maybe almost a year ago now. I think I read it towards the start of this year, so it has been a while since I read that one, but I really enjoyed the plot line of that one. It's following a young girl called Evie who ends up getting a job as an assistant to this villain that lives in the forest, and everyone in this town says to avoid him and not communicate with him and just stay away, but she has this job with him, and we just go through all of these crazy things that happen between them. There's sort of like unexpected friendship that sparks up in that first book, so definitely very excited to continue this series. Honestly, I'm happy to get either of these because they're 2 series that I have been wanting to continue. So looking at the results, definitely not as drastic as the other ones. We have 39% of people voted for Dracora and 61% of people voted for Apprentice to the Villain with 401 votes. So Apprentice to the Villain is going to be the third book added onto the TBR for October. I feel like the kind of vibes surrounding this book can definitely give spooky season vibes, not in like a crazy scary way, but it's definitely the kind of book that I'd want to read around spooky season, so it definitely fits. So I'm definitely very excited to be reading this one. Now, the next books that I put up against each other, I don't know if it's too early to read a Christmas book in October, but I have been sent 2 Christmassy romance arc books, and I've been wanting to read both of them, so I did put a poll up for these 2. So the 2 books I put up against each other are Good Spirits by BK Borison. This one comes out in October, so I definitely want to get to this one soon. And then we have Happily Ever After by Hannah Grace. This is the other arc I've been sent recently, and this one has come out in September, I believe, but I just haven't read them yet because I feel like September is too early to read a Christmassy book, but October, we're getting closer to the Christmas season, so I've kind of been waiting for that. I am so excited for both of these Christmas books. I feel like Christmas romance books are some of the best ways to get in the Christmas spirit, and I've said it so many times, but I feel like as an adult, it gets harder and harder every year to get into that Christmas spirit. So I feel like if I start earlier, it's a lot better. And that's why I feel like it's not too early to read a book in October that's Christmas themed. I love that I don't even really have anything for spooky season, but I have a Christmas book instead. Honestly, I'm the type of person that puts up my Christmas tree on November 1st, so definitely don't feel like it's too early. Now, when I first put up the polls, I did see the results were quite drastic for this one at the beginning, so I definitely feel like it's going to go one way, and that is because it's more of an anticipated release for more people. And yes, that is exactly exactly how it went. It's actually a lot more close than I expected from like what it was at the beginning, but 58% of people chose Good Spirits by B.K. Burrison, and obviously 42% chose Happily Ever After. So Good Spirits is the winner for this one, which is the one that I did expect was gonna win. I feel like I'm more excited for this one as well because it was actually this time last year that I read my first B.K. Burrison book, which was Love Light Farms, and that was also a Christmassy sort of vibe. It wasn't like very holiday themed. It definitely had that aspect in there because it was in like a Christmas tree farm, and I really loved her writing straight away, so I'm definitely very excited to read more from her, and I feel like a Christmas book is the best way to do that. So this is the fourth book for the TBR. Okay, we have 2 polls to go. The next one I did was 2 thrillers against each other. Now obviously I said I don't have many thrillers left on the TBR, so these are like very random to go up against each other, but I had to do a thriller poll because I love reading a thriller every single month. In fact, I read a few every single month, so I had to make it work with something. The first one I have is None Shall Sleep by Ali Marnie. Now I know that this is a YA book. I'll read a bit of the back to kind of like explain a bit of the synopsis because I don't really know that much about it. It says it's 1982 and the innovative FBI behavioral science section is breaking new ground. Emma Lewis and Travis Bell, 2 teenagers with valuable skills, are recruited to interview convicted juvenile killers for information on cold cases. So it's kind of giving me like the Natural series. I don't think it's like as popular and as good as the Natural series, but I've been wanting to read it for a while, and I think there is 2 or 3 books in this series, so it's like the start of a new series as well. And then the other one I have is an ARC I was sent recently as well. It is called A Neighbor's Guide to Murder by Louise Candlish. I did actually start this one a couple of weeks ago. I think I literally read like a chapter and then just wasn't really in the mood for it. I don't really know if it's going to be the writing style that I like, but I do want to get to it as well because obviously it was sent as like an early copy. It says, one woman's secret is another woman's motive. It's rare for a room in beautiful iconic Columbia mansions to be up for grabs, and Gwen is thrilled when its new occupant Pixie turns out to be the most delightful neighbor she could wish for. Before long, the 2 women have formed an unlikely age gap friendship, and Gwen is making herself useful to Pixie in all kinds of ways. But when a crime comes to light, Gwen's protective instincts go into overdrive, igniting an appetite for revenge that none of its residents are prepared for. The last thing they need in Columbia mansions is a scandal. The last thing they want is a murder. So I think it's like an apartment building or something. Obviously there's like a lot of residents that have something to do with this story, and I honestly don't remember from the first few chapters that I read, but I also feel like once I get into the thick of this I could really enjoy it as well. So either or, I'll be happy with either of these options. Oh, okay, this one is actually quite close as well. We have 58% for None Shall Sleep and 42% for A Neighbor's Guide to Murder. So None Shall Sleep has won with this one, but obviously it is a lot closer than some of these other polls. Honestly, kind of terrified because I just don't really know what I'm going to think of this being a very YA book and series, but I'll just keep my expectations low, so hopefully it doesn't disappoint, and I feel like it's going to be a very easy one to get through. Now on to the last poll. I would say that these 2 books are both books that I've been absolutely terrified but also really excited to read, and I've been really wanting to read both of these, so honestly I'm completely happy either way. I feel like I've said that for all of them. As I said, these are all like anticipated releases, but I feel like with these 2 I'm going to love both of them. Genuinely feel like I will love either way that this one goes. The first one we have is Catabasis by R.F. Kuang. I hope I'm saying that correctly. I always hear people saying something different, but we're just gonna roll with it. Now I honestly don't really know much about this. I did read the back of the book because I saw everyone talking about it and saying how much they loved it, and I was like, I have read Yellowface by R.F. Kuang, which I did enjoy. I really like her writing, so I wanted to give this one a go as well. So I'll read a bit of the back because I feel like anything that I say is not going to explain this properly because I feel like it's a bit of a complicated one. It says, grad student Alice Law has only ever had one goal: to become the brightest mind in the field of analytic magic. But the only person who can make her dream come true is dead, and inconveniently in hell. Alice, along with her biggest rival Peter Murdoch, is going after him. Ooh, okay, it's giving a bit of like an enemies to lovers maybe in here as well. I honestly don't even know the correct genre of this, but I feel like I need to go into this one mainly blind because I feel like that's when I enjoy books the most. The last little part says, but hell is not as the philosophers claim. Its rules are upside down, and if she's going to get out of there alive, she and Peter will have to work together. That's if they can agree on anything. Will they triumph or kill each other trying? There's definitely definitely an enemies situation in here. I don't know if it's going to turn into a little romance, but I'm very excited to see how this one goes. And honestly, a world set in hell, I feel like that is really, really intriguing. I've never read anything like that before, so I'm very excited. And the other book that I have that it's going up against is The Will of the Many by James Islington. I feel like this is kind of terrifying because of the size of it. It is very, very big. There is a lot of pages and the writing is tiny, and I feel like it's going to take me a long time to get through. But I have seen quite a few people talk about how much they love this as well, so I did go out to buy it because once I read the back of the book, I was like, that sounds really interesting. That sounds right up my alley, and I definitely want to give it a go. I did also buy it because I'm starting a new series on my channel where I read your 5-star reads, and quite a few people said this book. I'm not actually reading it in the first episode of that series, but I do definitely want to get to it for that video as well at some point, that series on my channel. It says it is following a character called Vis Talamus, and they were orphaned after a tragic accident a few years ago, and they end up getting accepted into a very prestigious school. But no one at the school knows that they are actually there to investigate a murder and search for an ancient weapon that uncovers secrets that may tear the Republic apart. I feel like every single time there is kind of like a school, like a magical school or a prestigious school in a book, I honestly end up really enjoying it. So definitely nervous but excited for this one. But as I said, I don't mind which book I get out of these two. I feel like I'm going to absolutely love both of these. These are like 2 5-star predictions that have gone up against each other. So let's have a look at the last results for this one. I have a feeling it's going to be Calabasas just because that is like the newer release and more people are talking about it. Okay, yeah. Exactly what I thought. Calabasas has won with 66%, so it got 431 votes. That is quite a drastic difference as well, but as I said, it is the more recent release and more people are talking about this, so I did think this one would win, and I'm excited to see what my thoughts are on this because as I said, it is a 5-star prediction. I do think I'm really gonna love it, and I am very, very happy to be adding this to the TBR. So that is officially all of the books chosen for my October TBR. I feel like we have a really, really good stack here. I'm going to go through them quickly again as a little refresher. We have Apprentice to the Villain by Hannah Nicole Myra, Good Spirits by BK Borison, Wild Card by Elsie Silver, my lowest predicted rating for this TBR, The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue by V.E. Schwab, None Shall Sleep by Ali Marnie, and Calabasas by R.F. Kuang. I am honestly so excited to get to all of these books. If you would like to see me read them, make sure you subscribe so you don't miss when I upload any reading vlogs during the month, because usually I do read all of the books from my TBR in a video. I do my best to include them every single month, at least the ones that I get to, and hopefully this will be another successful TBR reading month and I can get to all of these. But I don't want to ramble on too much. I honestly hate filming really long outros and intros. I try to just get straight to the point for you guys because I hate watching long ones. So thank you guys so much for watching this video. If you enjoyed it, make sure to give it a like because it will really help out my channel. And as I said already, make sure you subscribe so you don't miss any future videos from me if you would like to see more content from me. But with all that being said, I hope to see you all in my next one.